Oh my goodness. This phone is doing the craziest things. I want to talk to you about how everything is going down right now. And I pulled up CNBC and it brings up the Dow Jones is crashing, right? But not on that phone. I go to CNBC, it starts with the European markets. Type one if you can hear me all right. And I don't see anybody's on. This phone is acting weird. As I was putting my thumbnail together, it just started going live. So let's dive right into the news. So I'm going off of CNBC as of right now. Dow Jones is down 400 points. It says in thin trading as bull market cools in the final day of 2024. But we've already seen the Dow Jones pretty rattled. And I want to go through different segments of the market. And I want to ask you, because I'm very curious, most people's wealth in America for sure is tied up in their single family home. All right. They don't have rentals. They don't have any of that kind of stuff. They don't have a business of their own. They have a job and they have a home. And the net worth that they have is tied up in the gain of their home. And in 2006, 2007, and 8, all the way to 2012, we saw that just completely wiped out. Right? People went from millionaires to nothing. Right? As a matter of fact, the second thing where most people have their wealth is in their 401k. And a lot of people can say, I've got a retirement, all right? I've got something to hold on to. But the sad thing is most people don't realize that the Supreme Court in 2006 actually made it to where retirement funds can take all of your money away and they can stay in business. Did you know that? I did a lot of videos on a Supreme Court ruling that happened during around 2005, 2006 when the airlines were completely just imploding, right? I could have my years wrong. I'm going off of memory. And what happened was, the airline company said, hey, if we don't dip into the pension fund pool, we're going to go out of business and then everyone's going to lose their jobs. And people were fighting and they lost. They absolutely lost. The Supreme Court turned around and said, yeah, you can dip into the pensions. We think that it's more important that you stay in business even though you had a bad business model. Right? Think about where we are right now in just airline travel. How many people have heard of someone or it's happened to them where you've been overbooked and sorry, we don't have a seat for you. Like, wait a minute, you accepted my money, but you overbooked? That's actually illegal. That's what they actually busted Jim Baker on, the televangelist. When all said and done, you know what he went to jail for? He overbooked his hotel. But he said he had all the records showing that anytime somebody came in and they oh man, we didn't expect you to show up. We're going to put you up next door or down the street at a higher diamond level resort. But they said, no, it's illegal. You can't do that. Right. And airlines are doing it right now. And it absolutely infuriates me. But what infuriates me more is that your pension is at risk. And people don't realize that. There's already a precedent out there. I actually sat next to one of you on an airplane one day, a pilot dressed in his pilot gear, and he's scrolling through YouTube, and I sit down next to him. You probably heard the story, and as he's scrolling through YouTube, there comes the ninja, and I had to stop real quick and put my finger right in front of his face at the camera and go, man, that dude's hair is sexy. Is that a brohawk? I mean, he tensed up like you wouldn't believe. But when I said the word brohawk, his shoulders dropped, and he looked at me. But what's more interesting than that was that he actually said, he goes, I'm one of the people that worked my entire career and then had to add an additional 14 or 15 years on top because I was about to retire when that happened. And I started following you after I saw that story because very few people understand it. Well, when that happened, as a firefighter, I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, I have to pretend that my retirement is not there. Little did I know that 2 years prior to retiring with the federal government, I would walk away from everything, not eligible for retirement or eligible for a lifetime medical benefits. And a lot of people would say that's crazy, but the people that would say that's crazy are stuck in a doom loop of working for someone. I've been an investor since 1998 in the stock market, 2000, 2001 in real estate, and I've been building wealth. And today I'm looking at CNBC, and this is a nothing day, nothing burger, right? Dow Jones down 400 points. Who gives a rip, right? Because it's already hyperinflating into oblivion, right? But it shows everything's down. On a day where the Dow Jones is down, and then you see the 10-year bond down, right? 10-year bond is down nominally, right? It's not that much. But it's the same day that you see gold down, right? You see other interesting things down. Crypto is down. I've been talking about that's coming, right? They're still correlated. And the one thing right now that's up is oil. And the only reason that oil is up right now is because of Middle East tensions. All right. Natural gas is up because of a cold snap, things like that, seasonality and geopolitical events. But if those two events weren't happening, weather and war, oil would be selling off too, and the dollar would be getting strong, right? Algorithmic traders are moving from strength or weakness into strength, right? And their perceived strength right now is dollars. And it's one great example of, remember that when the stock market tanks, everything's going to go down. The only question is what goes down the least. During a panic, everybody moves into what feels comfortable. Let me share a story. It's a horrible story, but was it Whitesnake that performed at that club in, was it Rhode Island or Maine? A small club, and a fire broke out. And it was all blackened, and it was soundproofed with a lot of black foam that was painted, draperies and things like that. And a fire broke out. And there were multiple exits in that building, yet everybody went out of the way they came in. As a firefighter or emergency responders, we're always taught to scan rooms, look for exits, things like that, come up with 10 different scenarios in your head while the action's happening. Identify escape routes fast, because you never know when you're going to need them, right? Whether that be off a roof, bail out of a window. We used to have to practice that all the time, jumping out of a window head first and literally falling down a controlled fall down a ladder. When that concert, the fire started, the fire grew pretty rapidly, and it wasn't the fire that killed everyone, it was the smoke. And this is what usually kills people, is the smoke, the inhalation hazard. But it was the crushing sensation of everybody moving out of the door. And there was video of people stacked inside the door on their bellies to backs all the way up the doorway trying to get out because of mass panic. And that's what happens on a similar scale during a stock market or a market meltdown or a little mini panics, right? This is a great example of that. This is where understanding the fundamentals are really important. And the sad thing is there's so many people on YouTube preaching gold and silver during a crash. Well, they go down. They actually go down. Nobody really remembers the moment between 2007 and October of 2009 is when gold made its bottom. The market had already been tanking, and it just accelerated in September, okay? It was just a little acceleration of the downturn, but the stock market was, all the indices were trending down, and gold and silver just were going down with them. How is that for saving you, right? I've been teaching people or talking about people how to put your wealth into multiple baskets, two of which being gold and silver, but not that money that you need, and having a handful of cash, a basket of cash. Because when these events happen and the market pukes like it is today on a small, it's more like a, yes, anybody got that little thing where you make that sound and they get all grossed out? Anyway, sorry. My point, we got a guy at work that does that. Anytime he sees mayonnaise, oh gosh. We used to really mess with him. All right, so my point being is that there's so many things running through my head right now. I'm not a fireman anymore. Okay, when the market pukes, you have to have that cash, and it's crazy because in this world of YouTube where all these people, talk about gold and silver or crypto's the answer and all this stuff, you're like, you still aren't in the world of fundamentals, like the reality of these markets. And I would talk about having cash on the side, and the crypto crew would say, it's useless fiat. Yeah, well, talk to me in a week. Let's see how my useless fiat works to buy crypto at a lower price. Not trading advice. Or the gold and silver people would be like, I can't believe that you would hold on to that. And it's just like, oh my gosh, people. And what's crazy is I had never met a wealthy person that tells me the same thing. Yeah, you're crazy to be holding on to cash. Like every single one of them do for a specific reason. And that is when the retail market pukes and runs away scared and running. Like when BlackRock says, hey, we sold a bunch of Bitcoin. They're not telling you why, because they know where the 200-day moving average is. They understand that Bitcoin's going to dip lower, and they're probably looking at an ETF for XRP. Just throwing that out there. But hey, nobody wants to talk about that. They're going to scare the retail out. Or hey, when this big wallet comes out and says, hey, we just pushed a bunch of XRP onto Binance, and everyone goes, oh my gosh. And then you see them just pull XRP off the market and store it away. But it's the same thing with stocks as well. You know, I learned all of these lessons the hard way. So the question is, like, look at right now, gold's $2,600. It's down 21 bucks. Who gives a rip, right? I mean, come on. Do you give a rip that gold's down 21 bucks? No. Silver's down under $30. Man, I hope silver goes to 25 bucks because I'm going to take all my Bitcoin at the top and dive it into it. I don't think it's going to be like that, but as long as I can buy silver under 35 bucks when my Bitcoin's over 250 grand, I'm going to be happy. That's going to be an awesome trade. But that's just for me. I'm a nutball. I'm a dude with a bro hawk and a dream. And that dream is to watch you all get rich. And the reason why I can say that is because I've made all the mistakes before. I've been a complete failure. I've screwed up. I've banged my head up against the wall. You know, I used to tell this to people all the time, coworkers and friends and families. Hey, whatever I'm telling you, you may want to do, I'm doing 100 times bigger. And they would just think like I'm a complete tool. But like, I'm not joking. Like if you have $1,000 in the market, I probably got 100. I mean, those are just numbers, right? Because we're all in different places. Well, I was saying that back when I was, 25, 26. And I've made stupid mistakes. And the only reason I got out of them was I listened to smarter people. And I got to be honest with you, there are a lot of people, and this is why I don't mind acting like a total tool on YouTube, because there are a lot of people wearing suits that don't know jack crap. They're running around town and they're like talking about all these markets and what they're doing, and they don't know, they aren't in it. The only person I know that wears a suit that knows what he's talking about is Neil, my friend Neil McCoy Ward. He actually is in the markets. He is actually an active investor in all kinds of things, from real estate to crypto to all kinds of stuff, you know, like, but all these other social media people that I've met, and I've met a lot of them, different events, they don't know their butt from a hole in the wall. Shoot, I was explaining to one of them just how the XRP blockchain is actually, the amount of XRP is shrinking and how you can find it on the blockchain. But, you know, his videos on XRP and his affiliate links make millions. But you don't have to know everything to be a success these days. You just have to look like it. I just went the opposite route. I look like a tool so that I can spew out what I think is good information. All right, so the markets are puking, right? A little bit. I just want to use this day as an example because I think it's a big deal. If you understand what I'm talking about, why it's important to have type 2, if you understand why it's important to have assets in like 6 to 8 different baskets, not correlated, and one of those baskets need to be cash, equal weighting. And then when one takes off, like my crypto has absolutely exploded. All of you guys have seen it lately. I've alluded to what I've done in crypto in the past. It's just, this is one of those instances where I haven't sold the crypto, and I told you from a tricycle that XRP and the markets were going to tank in a few days. I did that on a tricycle out in this parking lot. It started. It's still going on. It's going to get worse. Why am I not selling? 2 reasons. Capital gains. I'm going to just forego those for a little bit. I've already got enough capital gains for this year. Let's put it that way. And the other thing is this market's too volatile. At any moment, a politician can come out and say, hey, like, can you imagine if China goes, screw it, we're buying Bitcoin? Do you know what would happen to the market? BlackRock would piss their pants and run back and buy as much up as they could. They'd start with over-the-counters. They would go to Coinbase and big exchanges and go, hey, you know all those fees you take from everybody, those high fees, build them up, gather them up. We're going to write you a check for them. Let's negotiate a price. And then they'd move to the open market if they couldn't get enough. They've got the cash sitting there, and they know where the 200-day moving average is. They know that Bitcoin can test, 71,000 bucks, no problem. To see it drop below that, I'd be shocked if it did. But hey, I'm not a financial guru. I'm just a dude with a bro hawk, and I don't even change my shirt. So who would listen to me? Hey, I hope you got something from this. If you did, can you type 3? I don't know, or type 4 if I'm a total tool. You could do that too. But my thing is I want to show people just really bare bones examples of what happens when the stock market does go down. Because remember, the stock market's the big kahuna. It's a lot bigger than the crypto market. It's bigger than than gold. It's bigger than silver. I mean, shoot, gold might be the big kahuna right now at 19 trillion bucks, right? But here's the thing. The stock market's way bigger than all of it. So if it dips and there's a liquidity at all needed, where do you think those guys are running to? Their cash hoard's only going to be good for about 10, maybe 20% of their entire net worth or their portfolio's worth. They're going to run into the gold market and sell. They're going to run into crypto and sell. That's why you're seeing things like this today. And I do believe you're going to see a stock market tank some point. I mean, it's just inevitable. Everyone's like, hey, you've been saying that for a long time. Like, yeah, no duh, dork. Sherlock, stock markets go up and stock markets go down over the term because they're destroying your currency purchasing power. It looks like it's going up like a housing market chart. But, I am one of those graduates of the housing cycle learning sort of thought or mentality that I can sell at the top on the housing market and buy at the bottom. And that's what I'm about to do. I'm already putting in bids for properties 30, 35% lower than what they were selling for. And those are only very specific properties that are going to make me money a different way. Okay. I think it's very, very important. And, the gentleman with the super chat just now talking about the 10-year, this 10-year bond, as it goes up, it's going to continue to go up as inflation goes up. And the reality of inflation is going to be told to you within the end of the first quarter of 2025. Okay. So by the end of March, or right around the beginning of April, when the numbers come out, you're going to realize that inflation is going to get red hot. And then the Fed's going to have to look at the new president and go, we need to raise rates. I don't think most people in Washington understand how the fundamentals of inflation versus Fed monetary policy works. And I think they're all going to get a lesson. But the sad thing is they're already rich and you're not. So if you're not, and that pisses you off, you need to start doing things now. Remember, life is going to give you everything you fight for and everything you accept. Take a second to think about that. They're the same thing. I hope you got something out of this. If you guys want to learn about cryptocurrency and how to invest in it right and safely, links down below to the sale and the tax liens and deeds course. The sale ends January 4th. Links down below to that too. I'm going home right now to film a ton of new lessons for the tax foreclosure, tax deeds course, and hopefully get that wrapped up real quick here. Hope you have a great day. The Economic Ninja is out.